My name is Helka. I am one of your therapists here at the Employee Assistance Program. So let's review your skills that you learned last week from the burn. So this is a great way to go about this, is writing things down, especially goals and things to remember, because you're actually getting to utilize both lobes of the brain. Good benefit. So remember, every day, name those two people or two things that you're grateful for that day. That keeps us not just positive, but accurate. It's very easy for the brain to focus on the negative. So when we can recharge that positive, we get a more accurate picture. And then I am your two biggest strengths. Make sure that you can use these strengths daily by, and you can fill that in for your engagement piece. Try to connect to one friend or one relative with whom you haven't spoken to for a while. You can use a text, you can give them a call, however you want to go about that. And then really start thinking about what could you do in the next 5 years with your life if fear of failure was not a factor. That can be really empowering. And then, as you already learned about, your smarter goals for the first year that will assist you in reaching that 5-year goal. All right, so now we're going to transition to our objectives for today. We're going to learn the difference between change and transition. We're going to try to look for opportunity through change. And I'm going to share some coping skills to help you manage through that change response. So I want you to think about for just a moment, how do you initially respond to change? Feel free to think about the pre-COVID world when we first heard about the Enterprise Project, career roadmaps, and Workday. During the COVID world, think about the first time you were told you're going to get assigned to telework and working remotely from home, or being reassigned to a different unit because of the COVID-19 stuff that we had to deal with over the Wexner Medical. Just think about that for a moment. And do you respond with maybe some hesitation, optimism, fear, confusion, excitement, or frustration? Look at those words for just a moment. Those are feeling words, aren't they? That's right, because the fundamental response to change is emotional. Specifically in the workplace, a lot of times, if we're in leadership, we're in the leadership role, we can get really frustrated when our staff don't immediately subscribe and align themselves with change that we're making in the organization. And we often can interpret their resistance as insubordination. If we were able to remember that our staff's response to change is emotional rather than logical, we can start giving each other some grace, the stinking benefit of the doubt, and help guide each other through the change and transition process. So there's this fallacy that we have in the world that if I can just get to the perfect job, if I can get coupled, or once I get my degree, or some other huge milestone in our lives, that things will be stable. How many times have we said that to ourselves? Once we get through the struggle, on the other side is stability. That is definitely a fallacy. Change is truly the only constant in life. It's actually not that bad. We just have a bad taste in our mouth in regards to change. There's a lot of growth, there's a lot of good things, and frankly, I'm getting better with age and getting better with experience, so bring on the change. But let's talk about work for just a moment. There's this concept of the psychological contract, and I'm going to read what's just right on the screen. The term psychological contract refers to the promise, usually unspoken, of ongoing employment in exchange for loyalty and hard work. So if I put my 40 hours in and I invest in the organization and I'm a good little Buckeye, I'm going to get my paycheck, right? I might get a raise. Unfortunately, right now this year we're not. That's okay. We will move on. And maybe I'll get a promotion. So if I invest at work, they'll invest in me. It's this unspoken contract that we do. So sometimes when change arises on the organizational level, it can feel like we are breaking that psychological contract. So when there is a disruption in the expectation of that give and take, on behalf of the employee, it can bring us a lot of feelings of uncertainty because we feel like that has been broken. Employees can feel overwhelmed. We can feel angry, frustrated, threatened, depressed. And guess what, guys? Management can feel the same. There's a lot of times that change will start at the top. Middle management lets us know what's going on. And then something happens in the economy or something's going on. And that change even has to upset management. So something I've noticed, interestingly enough, since a lot of OSU staff got sent home or to work remotely in March, my clients kept kind of describing this inner conflict, this inner distress, as they struggled to maintain maybe their attention, focus, and concentration while they were working from home. And they couldn't quite understand that. So we started picking it apart. We looked at, things like pandemic productivity. It's a thing. So is quarantine fatigue. And just a lot of people also had children or other adults in the home working from home. And there's just a lot of distractions. And that inner distress actually was the fact that they felt like they weren't holding up their end of the psychological contract. So it's been really interesting. And they actually had some levels of discomfort and guilt with that. So of course, in therapy, I bring this theme to their attention. Of course, they immediately identify it. And then we can start focusing on reframing and building some coping skills around this theme. So this is just something good for you to kind of explore yourself. That's what that happens when there's that outside change. It can feel like a threat to that psychological contract, as well as our own when we were transitioning from working to home. So let's take a look now how we actually go through the stages of transition. I'm going to read this straight from the screen. Change is something that happens to people, even if they don't agree with it. Transition, on the other hand, is internal. It's what happens in people's minds as they go through the change. Change can happen very quickly, while transition can occur more slowly. All of us go through these stages. Now, the pace that we go, that's definitely unique to each one of us. But the first stage is ending, losing, and letting go. The second stage is the neutral zone. And the third stage is the new beginning. All of this work is from Mr. William Bridges. He wrote Managing Transitions and some other great books about change and transitions. If you're interested in learning more, go Google the William Bridges. So another piece here is some people will go, like I said, through these stages differently, because those of us who are comfortable with change will likely move ahead to stage 3 rather quickly, while others of us might linger at stages 1 or 2. So let's learn a little bit more about these stages. Stage 1. At this stage, people may experience fear, denial, anger, sadness, disorientation, frustration, uncertainty, and the biggest one is a sense of loss. So staff may feel overwhelmed, like I said, anxious, confused, detached, depressed. People can become very self-protective during this stage. We might see an increase in conflict, whether it's usually verbal conflict, out of characteristic behavior for your staff, and you might see those changes in personality, mood, and behavior. So what are we responding to? Remember, our response to change is emotional and not logical. So what are we really experiencing? We are all worried about not being confident if things change. So let's say that our roles are changing, the reporting structure is altered, the expectations might be confused and unknown. This is the perfect hotbed for anxiety. And so those losses, when somebody tells us, oh, by the way, we're going to do Workday, it's going to completely reform how you do your HR functioning. That's a lot to take on. So we're fearful of losing the known and tried and true. A loss of control. And when I say control here, I'm not going control dominance. I'm talking control, a sense of safety, a loss of structure, a loss of the future. Where are we going to go with this? A loss of attachment. I really like the way I used to do things. I really liked what we were doing. And now you're giving me something new and it's uncertain and I don't know how to look at that. A loss of turf. This is kind of important here. I used to be a manager and I loved it when my staff would really take on their own projects and programming and they owned it. But then later I have to go and tell them, oh, by the way, the organization is making some changes and we're not doing that program that way anymore. That's sad, and they're losing some of that. And loss of meaning. We can lose meaning in our job when some of these changes are shifting amongst us. And so I'll give you an example, because this can even happen in your own self-propelled change, not just the organization doing it to you. I work with a lovely, lovely nurse. She came to me because she just wasn't feeling so great. And before, she was working in an area of the hospital which was very wellness focused. She got to help people heal, get better, and get home. And the type of illnesses she was working with, this was low recidivism, so they probably weren't coming back. It's kind of one and done, get home, you're better. She really felt a lot of meaning and purpose in her job, and she wanted a new challenge. So she went over to the James. The James works with cancer. Unfortunately, some patients don't get better. And she started having to do more comfort care and different aspects of nursing. And she started to lose her sense of meaning in her job. If I'm not helping them get better, if they're not getting well and getting out and living their lives, what am I doing? And that was really tough for her. So we worked on that, had her consult some of her other team members at the James, got to learn a little bit more of their experience and how they cultivated their sense of meaning at work. Started to work out great. She started adopting that herself. She's good to go, fantastic nurse. But I want you to see that a loss of meaning can happen whether the organization is imposing that change or we are. So uncertainty, the change, not being able to see a clear picture of the future can be very disruptive, and it can lead us to distress. As humans, we like things to be predictable and familiar. We like to feel we have some control over our lives, both work and personal. That control and influence really starts to exude into that feeling of safety. We like to feel competent in our jobs. We like to know that what we're doing and how to do it. And then you tell me you're going to give me a whole new computer system like Teams. Hello, I'm giving my own crash courses in Teams. How to learn how to do that. We like to have that sense of security, and we like to be recognized and appreciated. So when things are changing at work, watching coworkers and functions get cut can be experienced as a trauma. Now, in the therapy world, we call that a little t trauma versus a big T trauma. It can still be traumatizing. Some people will respond to that sort of trauma as if they're suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. You'll see emotional changes in your staff or coworkers. You'll see freezing. Freezing is one of the responses to fear. You've got 4. Okay, and you've heard of fight and flight. There's also freeze and collapse. So they're just kind of stuck there, can't really move. Reduced cognitive ability, low focus, concentration, afraid of anything new, just kind of fearful of trying anything new. And people who have been traumatized in the past are more likely to respond to adversity in this way of experiencing it as disruptive and distressing. And that's 20 to 30% of our workforce. And may I also add, I joke around and say this a lot in counseling. I say workplace PTSD. It's not an official DSM diagnosis, but it truly does explain our process. If we were ever, our history of working, we had a really bad interaction with a boss, especially our supervisors, we're going to kind of carry that baggage into our current jobs and kind of expect that from our new managers and new supervisors. And it's really hard to realize that. So when there's a change, that can actually feel like a trauma-related reminder. So I think for all the supervisors out there, be mindful, especially if you feel like your staff's reaction is a little disproportionate. That's not all you. And it is you, though, to be compassionate about that and understanding and work with it. Now we've gotten to stage 2. So number 1, we realize that we lost something. And I think that's the biggest thing in stage 1. We have to accept that we are feeling a sense of loss. Once we can move on and learn about that and really identify it, cope with it, then we can move on to stage 2. Now, stage 2 doesn't seem too much fun either. Not going to lie. It's the neutral zone. The neutral zone is a place of sorts where people feel disconnected from the past, emotionally unconnected to the present, and truly unable to envision that new future. So anxiety can rise during this time and motivation fall. People can feel disoriented and become resentful and very self-protective. The old weaknesses and insecurities can reemerge. Priorities get very confused. Information gets miscommunicated and tasks go undone. And staff can become very polarized, and that consensus and unity can break down. That's not a great time to be in the neutral zone. This is where managers can do a lot consistent, constant messaging. Let the staff know what's going on. Keep talking to us. Let us know what our purposes and goals are. Please note, I have a whole nother hour-long manager version of change management to help them help you through these times. Now, it's not all bad. We've got strategies. We've all gotten through change. If you think about it, we are all 1 for a billion. We are winning in getting through change because we're here today. We have all gone through stuff personally and professionally. There's no reason why we can't keep doing it. So let's look at some more effective strategies that will help us get through it. We can get input, gather that from reliable sources. That might be a supervisor or manager. That might be a mentor. Getting support. That's reaching out and giving it to people. Plan. Really try to identify what the heck is within your control. And that's, again, control is not it's safety. It's what can I depend on? What do I know is accurate? Short-term goals are key. You learning this with your smarter goals as well. Identify those small wins because it keeps our momentum and our traction going through the transition process. Communicate. Oh, my Lanta, I cannot tell you how strong this is. I love what we put behind this. Practice responsible and respectful interpretation, conflict resolution skills, and act to diffuse job concerns as they arise. I could give you an 8-hour training on this alone, but today we're just doing a bullet point. But be mindful of this. And this is true. If a job concern arises, please don't avoid it, whether you're the staff person or the leadership team. Just let's address it. Let's get the tranquilizer darts out and let's get down that elephant in the room and let's work with it. Limitations, know what your limitations are. When we moved, so March 18th, I come to work and my lovely boss, Sharon Saya, director of the EAP, tells me, Helka, we're working from home starting tomorrow. Okay, we're doing online video counseling. We've never done that here yet. Okay, it was just like, what's happening? And I told her, I'm like, I don't know Zoom very well, and I've never used Blue Jeans. That's our virtual counseling app that we use. I said, I'm willing to learn it. I'm just letting you know where I'm at. I may need some help. I immediately knew that this was not my forte. Now I am a Zoom goddess. Bring it. The last couple months, the Helka knows some things. Stay focused. Use to-do lists. Anytime you go through these tough transitions, it's okay that your mind might go to some different places. You get distracted. There's things going on. Use your to-do list to help you with your focus. It's okay. We need tools. This is really easy, right? Be patient. Done. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Literally, though, give yourself time. Now that you can kind of see this Bridges transitional model. Number 1, loss. What am I dealing with? Number 2, am I in my neutral zone? Number 3, the new beginning. It's very exciting. So we also want to let go of the past. And what I don't mean is just forget the past, but realize that the way we used to do things, yeah, they were great then. We need to innovate. You guys, you're at Ohio State. We are innovation. So hold on. Things are going to get better. So just prepare yourself with a positive attitude and that you're going to have the opportunity to learn new skills. Like I said, I am now a Zoom goddess. This is pretty exciting. And I never thought I was going to be. So reflect on what you've learned. And what that really means is you all have gotten through major changes in your lives. Once again, both personally and professionally. You have the skills. It's a matter of kind of identifying them, being a little bit more intentional, and utilizing those skills and transferring them. Look for opportunities. What I will tell you is this, through these times of change, employees will shine. They can rise to the top and learn new things. You have so many more opportunities with these changes that are going on. If you are still struggling and this is just too difficult, good gravy. Call the EAP, send us a counseling request, come to us. That's what we're here for. Y'all get 5 free sessions, use them. So let's focus what's within our control, what's within our influence. Obviously our attitude, our thoughts, our actions, our skills, and once again, those opportunities, the skills you choose to develop. Outside of our control is the organization's decision to initiate changes. Hello, Workday. They made that choice. We're going to have to work with it, right? COVID-19. Nobody wanted that thing. We got it. We're working with it, right? We're still doing continuity of service. We're doing our jobs. We're serving our populations. There's this guy named Economy, apparently has a lot of stuff to do with things. You know, also technology. Technological changes do impact how we work. What I want you to know, people will say, well, just accept it, get over it. What I want you to understand is acceptance is not necessarily agreement. Acceptance is alignment with the truth. When people say it is what it is, it's not being flippant. It's literally saying, it is what it is. I'm aligning myself to the truth. I don't agree with it, but it's accurate, and I got to move on with what I can. I got to put my energy where I can, and my energy is in me. Once again, those positive opportunities for change. I'm going to be honest with you guys. The last couple months, it has really shown us. It promotes new ways of thinking. We are literally, even though we're in the box, we are thinking outside of the box. It breaks the monotony. New opportunities do come up. It allows the best employees to shine, as I said before. Personal growth, flexibility, and agility promotes improvement. And honestly, if this COVID-19 thing, we're definitely reconsidering our life values, even with public instances of racial injustice that we've been experiencing, helps you reconsider your life values. So even though it's change and we don't agree with it, we don't like it, we still can get something from it. Here we are, that new beginning. Oh, do you see the light, people? We're embracing the change initiative in this stage. We're building our new skills. We're more accepting. We've got a renewed commitment and spirit about ourselves, and we're seeing the efforts of those early wins. We love it. That's great. So in this last transition stage, it is a time truly of acceptance and that energy. We've begun to embrace the change initiative. It's great. At this stage, people are likely to experience high energy, openness to learning, and that renewed commitment to the group and their role. Basically, we're all buying in. With all of this as we go through change, and it's the EAP people, and we're working with the BURN and the BWI, we love self-care because it's real, and we do need it. So get adequate sleep, get your exercise and physical activity, use your relaxation techniques, set your healthy boundaries. Boundaries also can be that protected time. We are really great at scheduling for everyone else, not so much ourselves. Schedule you. Stay positive. For me, I'm not a big fan of the word positive. I'm one of the least positive therapists. What? I am a big fan of accuracy. I just want to be accurate because that's a lot easier to get to some days. Breathe. Just breathe. Be in the moment. Be mindful. Be present. Do more of what you enjoy and spend times with those you most enjoy. And I love the fact too, I think you all taking advantage of this series is another example of great self-care. So let's take a moment. We're going to do some self-reflection. We're moving in there. What major changes are you coping with right now? Ask yourself, where are you in that model? What can you do to better manage your change, your stress of change? What are the things that are beyond your control and that you need to work on letting go of or accepting? And where can you get that support? And remember, change isn't all bad. At The Ohio State University, we most definitely incorporate our legacy and history with innovation. Just look at Brutus Buckeye. Dear good God, that 1965 Brutus, I can't. Now Brutus, I love that fuzzy little nuthead. I love him. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I think our moderators are going to help us with all the Q&A. And here are the resources. And you're going to get a copy, I believe, of all my slides. So you have these resources. There's us. Feel free to give us a shout out. There's our lovely Vern Melnick and the Buckeye Wellness team. And what's happening next week. So I'll await your questions.
If anyone has any additional questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A. We've got a few, so we'll go through them now. So one person asked, thoughts on employees coming to a supervisor hoping for answers when there may not be concrete answers? It seems so commonly the case lately.
Yes, and it's okay that they don't, because remember, OSU is a city within a city. So I think if the employee has that grace and understanding, and so does the supervisor, it is okay for supervisors to say, I don't know where to go. Let's look at where we're at and what can we do now. I'm a big proponent of asking what and how and not why. We'll find why along the way. Hope that helps.
One person asks, how do we find the change management class for managers that you mentioned?
Oh, you can just email us at eap@osumc.edu. We schedule that per department. So if there is a department that is interested in getting the manager training, I am happy to set that up for you.
One person says, I have heard many people say you are not in control of your first thought, but you are of the second and of your actions after. Do you have any thoughts?
A total big fan of that. We are going to have an organic response to things, and it's okay. My personality type, I'm an ENFJ, extrovert, intuitive, judger, feeler. Okay, or feeler, judger, sorry. So my first response is my emotions. That's what I register with first. So you're right, that second experience, I have to kind of identify what I'm thinking and then what I'm feeling and make an appropriate behavior choice off of that.
Okay. Could you talk more about the difference between being positive and being accurate and why you don't care for the be positive mantra?
I love it, yes. And it's not that I don't love being positive, but what I've noticed is this. I've worked with hundreds of people. I've been a therapist for over 13 years. And if I have somebody who's pervasively depressed or just a thick negative filter, when I say be positive, have a silver lining, look for the growth opportunities, they're looking at me like, Helka, no. So if you look at it as a pendulum, if I'm over here and I'm really negative, if I can get to accurate, if I can get to what's actually happening, I'll eventually get to positive, but I first got to get to what's real. The fact is, I am a good person. The fact is, I do have some limitations. The fact is, I do have some strengths. It's just a little bit more reasonable to get to. Once you can get to accurate, then you can get to positive.
Okay.
And that's purely a Helka thing. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Go ahead.
How do we grapple with being in different stages for different issues or challenges?
That's a big one because you're right. We don't have just one set of change and here's your change and deal. That's why I wanted to bring you guys the model, even in this very quick 30-minute training, is to start thinking about where am I at. Number one, knowing where you're at helps you ask different questions to motivate your coping and your growth. And just accepting the fact that you're there. If you're struggling because over here you're maybe in the new beginning and back here you're still letting go and you're struggling, that's when speaking to friends, coworkers, supervisors, social support network is great. And then if that's not cutting it, that's when you can utilize a therapist. We're helpful in organizing all that information and giving you some different reframing techniques to see where you truly have influence and empowerment.
Should we always try to accept changes, even if they're entirely controlled by leadership and undermining people, career roadmap? Any ideas for how to determine when to fight a bad change versus just accept them?
That's a good one. Remember, accepting is not agreeing. There are certain things that are out of the thing. I do not like using Chronos. I understand on the other side it's a great idea. That's something I have to accept. My work schedule, though, I might be able to work with my boss about that a little bit. I think if you can develop a decent relationship with your manager, explore those and see what you can move and what you can't. Clearly, if it violates your rights in your personhood, then you need to stand up. You're also always allowed to be assertive and advocate for yourself or your opinion. It's just after you do that, that's when you get more information, and then you can make a better decision whether to just accept it or to keep pushing that down the road. I hope that helped. These are really good questions, and I'm only giving little baby answers. I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right, another one. Can you talk about having grace with grief cycles? Through the loss and change, it is a natural response to have some grief and also sometimes feel guilty about it, especially when it can be cyclical and come around with anniversaries or with unintentional reminders of loss.
Yes. Grief, we can grieve and mourn on so many things and have so many related reminders that happen. I think the piece is having the grace with yourself. A lot of times I do a little trick with my clients is, what would you tell a friend? If you would tell your friend, oh my gosh, you're stupid, I can't believe you're going through that right now. No, you wouldn't. You would be like, of course you're going through this. What can I do to make it better? If we need that kind of self-talk to ourselves, that guilt might start to dissipate, and we start telling ourselves, it's okay. You have more power to help yourself than you know. And that's a quick answer. Once again, if you want to do more, love with therapy, or feel free to email me. By the way, I'm the only Helka on campus, so feel free to email your questions to me too if you didn't get enough out of the answers.
Unfortunately, we've only got time for maybe one or two more, everyone. So I'm sorry that I won't be able to get to everyone's questions. But as Helka said, please reach out to her, reach out to EAP, and they'll definitely get you the assistance that you need. So another question, our work life is definitely super chaotic right now, but I feel like I'm doing okay with changes that affect me directly, more or less. But I need to rely on other people who are also in their own chaos. How can I help them so that they can help me?
That's a great question. Sometimes we have to ask people what they need so they can guide us on how to better support them. I think the first thing, honestly, is just being genuine that you also have that issue. There's a much different place of being productive inventing versus destructive inventing and gossip. So I think just being real and being available, just telling them that you're there for them, that can definitely be a step in the right direction.
Okay, and we'll do one more. Someone says, Helka, you were awesome, and wants to know how they can navigate all those change-resistant or despising people around them.
Yes, that's a tough one. I think is looking at what the resistance is telling you. People are not being resistant to be resistant and have the friends moment right back to you, okay? It's their own internal processing. So for you as a leader, or if you're a manager, don't take that resistance personally. Explore them, ask them, what about this what is the barrier for you from moving forward and accepting this? Or, seeing the good options there. What do you feel that you're losing? And how you two could navigate and maybe compromise on how that person can still get their needs met in a different way. That might be a good start.